What's going on YouTube? It's Matt Faircloth. Thank you so much for watching. This is a super exciting series. This is something brand new. If you guys are watching this, you're the first ones to watch this new exciting series we've got here at the DeRosa Group YouTube channel, and this is called DeRosa Success Stories. As some of you guys may know, we put out a lot of YouTube content. We've written a book called Raising Private Capital, and we've got a lot of other education vehicles that are out there. And it's good to celebrate successes from people that have learned some things from what we've put out, because it's just good to validate that that the education we're putting out there is working and that people are able to apply it and that they're able to take what they're learning from YouTube or from the book or whatever and apply it in real life circumstances in their business. Because without real life stories of how these things are being implemented, all it is theory. But we're not about theory here at the DeRosa Group. We're out really implementing these solutions to change lives and to grow businesses and to build wealth, real life, real time through what we put out on YouTube and in our book. Okay, so our very first guest on DeRosa Success Stories is the Greg Helbeck. Greg, I'm super excited to have you here. So welcome to the show.
Matt, it's an honor to be here. I've read your book so many times and most importantly, implement it. So talking to the man who wrote it is a true honor.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here. Greg reached out to me actually on Facebook of all places and said, hey man, great to connect with you. And oh, by the way, I read your book. And I was like, hey, stop right there. You read the book and you learned from the book. And Greg told me a few things through Facebook that he implemented through the book that I can't wait to share with you guys. That's super exciting. And so I want to get into that. But Greg, thank you for reaching out to me because it's very validating and I think will be a benefit to our audience to hear what it is you learned and what you did. And so tell it in like 30 seconds, tell us your backstory, tell us about you, what you're up to, where you're from, and then we'll jump into what you learned and how you benefited from it.
Yeah, so I got started in this business at a young age, almost going on 4 years now. So I started when I was 20. I'm 24 now, and I've been a full-time investor for 4 years. So I've primarily, I got started wholesaling, and then I kind of graduated onto more bigger, taking deals down, flipping them, wholetailing, just mostly just buying and selling properties now, not as much wholesaling. So because of that, I had to really get good at the capital part of the business because I got pretty good at the marketing and sales side of the business, but the actual closing on the properties and raising money and stuff like that, I had to really learn and evolve. So now we're buying 3 to 5 houses a month. We're doing a lot of as is, kind of light fix and flips or just quote unquote wholesale deals where we're just listing them on the market as is, competing with the REOs. And it's working quite well for us. And I want to keep growing and really now be more intentional with my investing by holding more of these properties for BRRRR and also getting into some smaller apartment buildings.
Cool. Where are you located?
I live in San Diego, but I invest in New York where I'm from and also in Dallas, Texas. So I'm a virtual, oh, by the way, I'm all virtual too. I don't invest in my actual space.
Yeah. Yet another California investor I've met that's been able to build a portfolio in other states. So a lot of people tell me like, I can't invest in my own backyard. It's overpriced or whatever. I get that. But there's books from like David Green has a book out there on it. In that. So there's a lot of great concepts, even if you're in a high value area where investing doesn't make sense, like San Diego. I get it. It's a beautiful place to live, but maybe not the best place in the whole wide world to invest. Right. And so you're investing where in New York, in upstate New York City, where?
Yeah. So I'm from the Hudson Valley area of New York. So about an hour from Manhattan is Orange County, New York is my main market. So it's tri-state area, New York, Hudson Valley region, about 2 hours from that actually.
Yeah, I know you're at like Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, those areas.
I buy all the time in Newburgh. I love that area.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Believe it or not, I'm familiar with that area.
Really?
I was part of an organization that did some men's weekends in Newburgh as well. So I know that area. I've done a lot of men's retreats and stuff like that in that part of the world. So that's that. You invest where else besides there?
I've done a good amount of deals also in Texas, Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Dallas, Fort Worth. Yeah.
Yeah. Booming market, man. Booming. If you can find the right deal. So, yeah. Okay, great. So that's what you're up to. Tell us like what principles that you picked up through raising private capital that you've been able to apply in your business? Like what were the big ahas that you got that you were able to, really grow with?
Yeah. So I'll give you 3. And these are this is like the 20, I'm a big 80-20 guy. So this is my 20% that I got from that book that gives me the most. So number 1, reframing the entire process of raising private money, of not asking somebody for a favor, but reshifting. It's a reframing of the conversation, reframing the conversation to being able to provide an alternative to people to grow their wealth by investing with you in real estate. So awesome. That was a game changer for me. And that's that's more of a, I think that's more of a foundation. Like, let's start with that mindset. And then now with that mindset, like Steve probably begin with the end in mind, how do we go out and find people that we can go provide this service for, right? Investors. That's when you get into the whole tactical stuff. So first and foremost, reframing the way I think about raising capital. The second thing I got from the book is that the whole idea of the thought leadership platform. So until I read that book, and I've read and listened to that book many, many times, I study that thing, and I most importantly implement it. You know, having a platform, whether it's a YouTube channel like we're on now or a podcast that I started, you know, having a way to produce valuable content into the marketplace on a weekly basis to where you build a following and you know, you don't have to be a guy who's done 1,000 deals, but if you have some experience, you want to be able to document your success and share, you know, real life examples and interview people. So just being able to be a thought leader to establish credibility is the second takeaway I got. And I implemented that with the podcast. And then the third takeaway, and this is something that I do all the time with my direct marketing campaign efforts, but I never did it in the private money department. And it's building a database of investors in Podio, which I already have. I've done.
Use Podio too. We love Podio. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right,
so I have my whole, you know, private money database now. And I have all my investors in there. I have what they want, what they'll lend on, their terms.
How many investors are in the database now?
Well, I started, there was 0. Now I have probably 50 of them, but
That's
they're not
awesome.
all. They're not all like going to give me money, but like 50 people have at least said, hey, I'd be interested in maybe.
But look at the potentiality of that. By you counting the people that came in the door, if each of them averages out at $100,000, you got $5 million that you have access to, right? Just by, and what I want to submit to everybody else watching is that you all interact with people on a daily basis. What Greg's been smart enough to do is just to start to tally these people and start to set them aside, and you start to drip campaign them and things like that. Another thing we talk about in the book is things like newsletters, podcasts, that kind of stuff, to stay in front of your database. And if Greg hits a huge deal that he needs to go and raise a lot of money on, he's got a better potential than he does with somebody who's starting at ground zero, because he's been able to build that database of investors that you know, that have expressed interest. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
I track it, man. I track it like a crazy person.
Have you raised? Nice. Have you raised money for a deal? Have you raised equity or loans for a deal yet?
Yeah, I got one closing next Friday, and it was from networking. It's like, because I've used hard money, and I like hard money. It's not terrible.
It's fast. You can get it quick. They can close real fast if you need them. Yeah.
Hey, and they send me free iPads sometimes. Check this out.
What?
Free iPad, borrow hard money, 12% interest. Get a free iPad.
Yeah, right. For that kind of, for 12% interest, right? What do you want? You know, right? Yeah, pay the points, everything.
Yeah, but I'll give you a case study. Yeah, so I'll keep it real quick. Basically,
sure. Give me a case study.
I had a bunch of properties. You know, I went home to New York for a month. I had a bunch of deals to work on. We picked up 4 new houses, and this one deal was real urgent property. And I told the seller, I'm like, listen, we're going to close ASAP. I was going to get hard money, but then I called my buddy up. He's like, yeah, my dad would be willing to loan the deal. I pitched him the first way I pitched him, like he didn't really like the terms. So then I said, what if I gave you more points up front? To compensate for the interest. And he's like, I would do that. Cool. Got the attorney involved, private loan. We're going to close next Friday on a deal. So we're going to put some points up front, which I'm cool with, but I don't have to make that monthly interest payment every month. I'm going to pay him all his money on the back end.
That's a great tip. And that's in the book too, about negotiating win-wins, right? As a developer, right? Let's face it, you're a developer. You're at this point, right? I mean, so you get that crown now. As a developer, it is of great interest to not have to pay interest on a monthly basis, because that really is gonna ding into your cash flow. You're gonna have to come up with it from somewhere. Paying on the back end when the project's done, as long as your deal's moving quickly, is a great win for you. And as long as they're okay with it on the front end, that's fine. How much is he loaning on the deal? Your buddy's
100K, 100,000.
Awesome.
You know,
awesome. What rate in terms you get him at?
So I think we're doing 3 or 4 points up front, which I'm cool with.
Fine.
But we're doing it's a 12-month loan, right? And it's 1 point a month, so 12 interest, so 12%. Yep. However, this is where, because I got an objection, and I've been studying sales. I've been in sales for a while too, so I love talk about that all day long. But basically, his objection was, it's not, and I always say I'll guarantee 5 months of interest. So if I have the money for 3 months, you're still going to get 5%. And he goes, yeah, but like, I don't want to do that for 5%. So I said, well, what if so I found out that objection. I said, well, what if I gave you some more points up front to justify, the 5 months interest? Like, I would do that. So then I found his objection, made him another offer, and he's like,
yeah,
cool.
people are never a no. They're a no because of,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they're a no because of this. And it's
Yeah.
not that you can turn every no into a yes. It's just that when people tell you no, sometimes it's no because of something that you can dissolve and change by shifting it up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So cool, great, man. So Greg, this is awesome. Any other thoughts you want to share? Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you, what's your podcast so people can check you out?
It's called Pave the Way Podcast, hosted by Greg Helbeck. 2 shows.
Pave the Way
Podcast.
Cool. Awesome. And hopefully you guys will hear, me on that show at some point. I'd love to join you and all that. So maybe that's something we could do. Love to talk to you.
Awesome.
Just like you, I can tell I love talking. Yeah, I can tell you do too. I love talking about this stuff as well. So that could be a lot of fun. Great. Good stuff, man. So listen, what's next for Greg Helbeck? I mean, you've done a lot of great stuff. You've got a lot of BRRRR deals going. It sounds like you're really, really on fire. What's next for you on the next venture?
Yeah. So it's 2 things. It's growing my real estate business, getting into bigger deals. I read a book called Confessions of a Real Estate Entrepreneur by Jim Randall. Changed my life. I'm actually getting Jim on my podcast, which is going to be awesome.
That's a great. I've never read that. I have to check that out.
Oh, you have to. It's so good. So really, it's getting into more bigger deals now, and instead of just doing the typical fix and flip, maybe going after properties that I can rezone and change the use of them, and just doing more, like trying to just make more profit per deal instead of doing, like, I have buddies who flip 10 houses a month, and that's great, but their overhead and everything's just crazy. I just don't know if that's.
You got to build a big machine to do that. I know people that do that too. You can do that, but you've got to have, like you said, overhead. You've got to build a business. And there's guys that wholesale 10 to 15 houses. And that sounds really cool and sexy to be able to wholesale that many houses. And it can be, but you got to have the machine built, and the machine costs money to build that business. So anyway, go ahead.
BRRRR deals, just getting into more BRRRR deals. Small. I want to start with some smaller apartment buildings. Like, you're, really, you have a lot of experience in that area. Starting like with maybe some 5 to 50, maybe 5 to 20 unit properties I can get with owner financing.
Yeah.
Just growing, just growing my business and just trying to get out of my comfort zone consistently, and also growing in other areas of my life, business, family, health, relationships, and just keep pushing myself every day. And that's
awesome.
That's what I try to do.
Awesome. That's what it is. I mean, I really commend you for being 24 years old and this far. I mean, don't let anybody ever knock you for your youth. The only reason I'm bringing up your age at all is because I commend you. You're this far along at the age that you're at. Not that like, oh, good for you, you young man, for getting into business. That's not what I'm saying. And a lot of people that are your age, like, let it get to their head that they're young, right? I'm really celebrating that because I'm like transposing where you're going to be. Like 10, 15 years from now, being where you're at now. And I'm really excited to see where that is. Cool. So Greg, how do people get a hold of you? If they want to get another slice of Greg Helbeck, how do they do that?
Totally. So I'd say the best way is probably social media. And my Instagram, I put out a lot of content on there. So you can go to Grego _37. I put out daily content there. And then if you want to listen to my podcast, Pave the Way Podcast, type it in on iTunes, any of the major podcast databases, and they'll be there. You'll get 2 shows a week, and then you'll hear Matt in a couple weeks as a guest. And I just try to provide as much value as I can. So those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
Guys, awesome. So here's the deal. If you guys, so thank you, Greg. If you guys have success stories that you have, that you would like to share for the YouTube channel, as Greg just did, from just things you've learned from my YouTube channel, things you've learned from my book, things you've learned from the webinars I've taught on Bigger Pockets, anything you've learned that DeRosa Group or me have put out there, including my wife through the Real Estate Investor Show, any of that stuff that you guys want to put out, email it to success@DeRosaGroup.com. That is success@DeRosaGroup.com. And we'll review it. And you may get a shot to be right here on the YouTube channel, just like our good friend Greg Helbeck was, to share some success stories that you've got. Because we really want to celebrate wins that people have gotten through the education that we put out there through our medium. So Greg, thank you for sharing with us, guys. Be sure to check out Greg. And as I always say, guys, thanks for watching and have a great and profitable week.
See ya.